Hi Yolanda, hi Meg. Shmaya Sish. Mevs, hello. Yeah, it is. The sun's finally come out. I'm going to switch around. You can see me in a sec once we hit the 6 o'clock mark. Hi, Suze. Hi, Karis. Hi, guys. Is it 6 o'clock yet? I can't see. Okay, so hi guys, hi everyone, Croeso, welcome to the first edition of Tactile Bosch, OmniBOSCH live Sunday specials. Croeso I pawb, diolch am ymuno. So first of all, a little bit about Tactile Bosch, who are hosting this event this evening. If you don't already know who they are an arts organisation based in Cardiff who support emerging artists and established artists to exhibit both locally, nationally and internationally. And if you haven't been to one of their fabulous exhibitions in and around Cardiff, then the next time they put one on, you must go. So, diolch Tactile Bosch. Gwahoddi fi heno. Thank you Tactile Bosch for inviting me here tonight to do this special first OmniBOSCH special. Okay, so as you can see, I'm on the beach in Aberarth. This is where I grew up, and my upbringing here has had a profound effect on the things that I hold dear and the things that are important to me in life. So I grew up, like I say, surrounded by beautiful landscapes. In fact, maybe I could show you some of that now, just so you can get a little idea. Let's just switch you guys round. So this is us, this is me, this is where I grew up. On the beach here in Aberarth. And like I say, my upbringing here has had a profound effect on the things that I hold dear and the things that I value in life. Growing up by landscape like this, like watching it shift and change and morph with time, you don't realise as a child like what's happening and what effect that's having on you. But as you grow older, you realise how joyful this experience has been. And I have a hiraeth for this place. Hiraeth, it's a big Welsh word. It's probably the biggest word we have in the Welsh language. It's really important. And if you don't know what it means, there isn't really a direct English translation, but the closest word is like longing. So, when I'm not here in Aberarth, I have a longing to be here. There's like a homesickness. It's like a desire to come back home, to come back to where you feel placed and to where you feel like you belong. And, Aberarth is that place for me. And I mean, the genius loci of this village is outstanding. The spirit and the energy of it is extraordinary, and I think for me that's because it's seeped in in so much history, and there's so much narrative, and there's just layers and layers and layers that like build this energy that you feel while you're here. So I'm currently working on a commission for Cadu and Strata, Florida. So if you're not aware of what Strata, Florida is, it's a Cistercian abbey about 15 kilometers up the hill. And it was built by the monks in the 12th century. And Aberarth, this village and that abbey have a really, really strong connection. So this very beach that I'm sat on, 800 years ago, the monks were shipping Bath stone through a port just further down the beach and transporting it up to Strata, Florida, and they built this fantastic abbey. And at the same time they built some goretti. So goretti, another Welsh word for fishing pools, fishing weirs. So there are 12 fishing ponds, 12 goretti along the stretch of this beach here in Aberarth. And at low tide, it's possible to see the remains of the engineering of those particular fishing pools. So yeah, I've been given a commission to make a sculpture that kind of links those two things together. So, you know, this beach is kind of like, you know, it's really an important place to me, and I'm really excited to be able to be working on that project with Cadu and Strata, Florida. So, you know, my practice is rooted on the land. It's land art. That's what it is. That's what I feel comfortable saying that it is. And you know, this beach is pretty remote. I mean, it's on a coastal path, but we're quite remote here, and I really thrive on working in remote locations. And some of you, you know, may or may not know my work, but, you know, I've put work, you know, in woodlands, on mountains, far-flung beaches, and, I mean, tiny villages in Denmark, and, you know, probably one of the most remote places I've ever worked was Flatholm Island, a few years back now, where I got the opportunity to make work on that island. And, you know, that really was the start of it for me, because it ignited this spirit in me, to be able to like the possibility that you could make a work of art, like with the tide, and only me and myself, me and Marianne, the warden at the time. I'm not sure if you're watching, I can't really see but if you are, hello. So we were the only two people that experienced this work, and like the legacy of that work's like just remains in the documentation of that. And I just was really excited by the possibility of finding remote locations to work. So yeah, land as gallery, you know, why not? Like, I'm not saying that I don't enjoy exhibiting in galleries or creating gallery ready work, but I really feel like it's important to step outside of the status quo, and to kind of allow possibilities for artwork to be viewed and seen in different locations, and for people who might not necessarily want to step into, you know, a white cube space or pay 20 quid to see a show by a world famous artist. So I'm really trying to like work on like making that thing in my practice, and like making that something that like I really want to stick to and try and see if I can make that possible. So as well as like seeing land or landscape as, you know, an opportunity for exhibition, I also see it as, you know, as a studio space. So, you know, this beach here in particular right now, I describe it as my studio. It has everything I need. You know, all the materials are here. Everything, you know, and like it's kind of like, so I come to the beach and it's a bit like charity shopping, you know, material wise. It's like, you know, you get those good days in charity shops, I think, like where perhaps there's been like a drop of, you know, Burberry jackets from an old lady who's died, and, you know, you hit the jackpot and end up with a Burberry jacket for 20 quid. those sorts of days. And it's pretty much the same like when you come to the beach, you know, like the tides, like we all know, they're in, they're out, and this beach in particular has really high tides, so you get some really fantastic deposits of materials. And yeah, I'm interested in elemental materials, and they're like, for me, they hold this like power. They're like they're close to magic in my eyes. That's how I see them, and they hold something more than just like man-made materials. They are of the earth. They are of the elements. They are of like history, and I've just recently like developed like an even closer relationship with these stones on this beach, because I've been working with them and using them and making some works. The one in particular where I gathered all of the red bricks up, and that was sort of dedicated to a friend of mine, Megan, and I just built this solid circle, and the tide came and took it away. So yeah, the materials I find here are just like, you don't need anything else. Like, there's no need for canvas, there's no need to worry about buying things. It's all here, which is fabulous. And like I say, my connection to these materials has kind of deepened because Dr. Fionn Reynolds, who's an archaeologist who works for CADU and Strata Florida, she came with me for a site visit here, and I was really fascinated by how she was able to kind of work the beach and like know the stones and like get a grasp on the time scale of these things. Like, she would pick up a stone and like be able to place it in time, like time for me is like what I kind of know of my own life, but like and how far back as I can remember or imagine to remember. But like Theon, when she was on this beach, was like, had knowledge. She knew how old these stones were, and it's got me thinking, like these cliffs and these stones have like seen a lot of things, right? So they know the answers to a lot of questions. So I mean, why not? Why not ask them some questions? Because they might have the answers. So, I've been doing that. I mean, maybe that's a sort of response or result of kind of lack of human interaction, or kind of like the current state of affairs. But, so, there I am unmasking these stones, like what is there an answer to what's happening right now? And I get this like the choir, the Welsh quartz choir, like singing back to me like, Ma, like I told you so, like this kind of arrogance in their approach to perhaps what's going on in the world today. It's, and I really believe that. I believe that this global pandemic that we're experiencing is a result of mankind's desire for like planetary power and to overwhelm anything that's non-human, to sort of like take that down and own it and control it. And for me, like where we're at right now is like, it's like irreversible. Like it's the irreversible Anthropocene. We've come so far, and like nothing's going to be the same again. Like it's never going to be the same again, and that's because we as humans have kind of created this global pandemic. It's changed everything. It's like we kind of know what was. We don't know what it is going to be moving forward. So it's like this like in between reality, and we're all kind of, as creatives, I guess, dealing with that right now, because obviously our job is to sort of visually communicate the world that we live in. So I guess that's what we're all trying to do as artists. So yeah, this like not quite reality. It's kind of like a very it's a catastrophe. I mean, it's not a disaster, it's a catastrophe. Disasters, like, we don't come back from that, but catastrophe is like we can move on and maybe rectify some stuff. So that brings us to kind of like the world like before COVID, like and that's kind of why I'm here this evening, to talk about something that happened before COVID. Yeah, and it feels like that was a very long time ago. But before the lockdown happened, and before the world changed forever, I travelled to Finland. to take part in an artist residency there, and the theme of the residency was silence, awareness, existence, and that residency was made possible because the Arts Council of Wales and Wales Arts International and the National Lottery supported that journey and that residency. So diolch yn fawr I chi cymorth I fi. Mae fe mor bwysig I cael y cyfle I gweithio'n ryngwladol ac I wneud cysylltiadau gyda artistiaid eraill byd eang. So thank you, diolch Arts Council of Wales for giving me the opportunity to go to Finland. So yeah, let's talk about Finland. Let's talk about something like pre-COVID. So this was in February. So the journey to Finland was an adventure. I travelled for 4 days by boat and by train to reach Finland, and I travelled through 8 countries during the time where we were leaving the EU, the 31st of January of this year, around that time. So it was an interesting time to be travelling, and at that point I guess it felt like, you know, the worst thing that could happen to us was Brexit, and you know, that felt really poignant, travelling at that time through Europe and kind of making that statement. And also, you know, to make the choice to travel without flying really at that time, and still is relevant to me. I believe that, you know, the planet is in grave danger, and I believe as an artist it's my job to kind of commit to a more ecological and kind of earth-friendly way of working. So the decision to travel there without flying at the time, I guess, felt like I was sort of fighting a losing battle, and that, you know, it was a unique thing to do, to sort of, I mean, why would you? You know, like, and this is kind of, I guess, why, again, I say we are where we are with it. You know, why would you choose to spend a good part of your budget, you know, £400 travelling by boat and train and 4 days, as opposed to, you know, £40 and 4 hours to get to the same destination? But it's like, it's really crucial because, you know, this is my art practice, and I'm really definite that I can't, you know, I need to be aware of of the planet, and I don't want to be part of like making any of this situation any worse through the making of art. It's taking responsibility. So I arrive in Finland, and you know, I'd gone to Finland to make these, in my head I was going to be making like huge like colossal sculptures out of snow and ice. And you know, I'd arrived in Finland, and within a week the snow had melted and the ice had gone, and you know, it was quite a shock, mostly because, you know, this wasn't just like a kind of freak moment where I decided to go to Finland in the only year since the start of, you know, the start of the universe, the only year in history where it hadn't snowed. Like, this was global warming, and this was serious, and you know, I'd gone to make ice and snow sculptures, and that wasn't going to be possible anymore. And you know, Finland, it's like Finland bases its identity on snow and the winter, and it's kind of like, I went there to, you know, feel sad. I went there to like embrace a season, like the season of kind of being introvert, and I wanted to experience that like blue Finnish light that's so famous, and I wanted to be in darkness for 23 hours of the day, and you know, and that didn't happen. It was like basically sunshine. It was like spring in February. So that was a bit of a challenge. I mean, but these are the sort of the challenges that you face like when you work outside, because it's not, you know, it's not a controlled environment. You can't like switch the lights on and off or stop the rain from coming, or like the wind in particular is one of the like biggest challenges when you work outside. So there I was, like no snow, no ice, and a little bit jaded and a little bit kind of lost because I had gone there to make ice sculptures. But one of the main reasons, so silence, awareness, existence, this is the residency. So one of the main attractions of that residency was the silent bit. So, you know, I'd been living quite a chaotic and kind of high-paced life, like running a restaurant and trying to balance those two things. So trying to balance running a restaurant and making art, and kind of, you know, to anyone who tries to make art out there, or who is making art out there, you know, it's not an easy task. It requires a lot of attention to detail and a lot of thought and a lot of commitment and dedication. So I was finding it really challenging to like run a business and make art at the same time. So I felt like the way that I kind of got over that was to kind of really simplify what I was doing, to like minimize it, to like so not to be a minimalist artist, like not in its kind of raw sense, like, or if it is fundamental or essentialist minimalist. It's more about it was more about like, how little can I do because I have so little time, and that sort of brought me into this idea of sort of slowing things down and breaking things down and like chipping away at things until you just got to the very essence of what you were trying to say. So silence felt like the next step, really, in trying to see how that could become part of my practice, and I was just really attracted by the idea of being silent for 2 days of the week, and what that would look like, and what the results of that would be. So so, you know, we had to do 2 days a week of silence every week on the weekends, and we'd done a little bit of preparation. So we'd had like an introduction from a Buddhist monk who kind of taught us about like observing, like being observed, observing the observer, and breathing and breath, and kind of trying to like break through moments of meditation. So we'd done a little bit of preparation, but like nothing prepares you for the first time you're silent. Like, you know, we are constantly, as human beings, like we have a constant flow of like words, verbal diarrhea, like from the minute we wake up to the moment we go to sleep, and we're constantly expressing and sharing and receiving and giving, and like when that's taken away from you, and like suddenly you can't communicate, like it's a shock, you know, it's a real shock, and the only person that's left to have a conversation with, apart from the rocks, obviously, no, you can't talk to the rocks when you're silent, you know, the only person left to have a conversation with is yourself. So like without any kind of outer or like asking anyone else's opinion or anything like that. So it's like you've got to go really deep down, and, you know, in silence, so that it's you and you. That's who's there. It's you and you, and, you know, it's very challenging. And for me, it was it was really hard, and everyone's experience that was on the residency was different. But for me, it like the way that I kind of got through it was that like people's sounds, like the sounds of people, really sort of like guided me through that, and I felt really comforted by that, because like, you know, you're alone, like when you're silent and you're isolated and you can't communicate, like you're alone, you're lonely, you know, in a way you're lonely. It's loneliness, it's isolation. So your body kind of, or your mind, like tries to fill that with some kind of joy, and the joy that I found in the silence was the voices and the sounds of my friends and my family and my loved ones, and it was really comforting to sort of tap into the sound of someone, you know, walking, or the sound of someone smoking a cigarette, or touching their hair, or like they became really present in their sounds, and that kind of like really helped me through those moments. And that's important to me, because, you know, my work is always about someone. So, you know, so there were all these people and from the past and the present, like there with me during the silence. And but I say silence, but it's not actually silent, because your mind is like it's like this like buzzing symphony of sounds and voices, etc. So like you say you're in silence, but you're not actually in silence. You're just things are buzzing around. So I was searching for silence, searching for that inner peace or that inner moment, and it came. And it didn't come in the form of a voice, it came in the form of a lack of a voice. So an old friend of mine, I was searching for the sound of her, Vicky. I was searching for what she sounded like, and I couldn't remember the sound of her. And in this silence, I was like really pushing hard through all of my senses to like remember what she sounded like, and I couldn't. And you know, Vicky's been dead for over a decade now, and I hadn't realised that I didn't remember what she sounded like. So that for me was the moment where I found silence, and that was the moment where I wasn't worried about making work anymore. I wasn't worried about the fact that there wasn't any snow or wasn't any ice. Like, she'd stopped me in my tracks and gave me an opportunity to sort of then carry forward and make work, which ended up being a body of text work, which you can check out on my Instagram if you've got time. So yeah, silence, you know, that was one big part of the biggest part really of the residency in Finland. So another thing we did a lot of was like walking in nature, you know. So like being remote, living by the land, like I said earlier, is it's a blessing. And you know, it's really important to like take a moment, especially in the current climate. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity just to take a moment here on this beach. So I'm going to switch the camera around. And then you guys can just take a little moment here and, you know, maybe try to sort of breathe a little bit and breathe in and out, and maybe try to listen to the sound of, try to find the sound of someone that you think you may have lost. So I'm going to be back. I'm just going to give you guys like nearly a minute, maybe not quite a minute, but I am going to let you guys listen to the silence. Hi, hope you enjoyed that. Just a little moment. So another thing, another reason or another thing that attracted me to the residency in Finland was the fact that they do lots of saunaing and they're really into well-being, and I'm interested in how that can work for me and how that like fits into my practice as an artist. So, you know, people often wonder what you do all day, you know, like what do artists do all day? What do they get up to? And, you know, I have this huge envy for mostly painters, and I've got a lot of painter friends, and, you know, I get huge envy and jealousy when they can just kind of tap into a sketchbook or, you know, just start a painting on a canvas, or a potter that might want to, you know, can just throw like as many pots as they feel like to get to where they want to be. But you know, for me, I really struggle with what I do on a daily basis, and like Finland and saunaing and kind of taking that moment to reflect and is really important to me. And also like taking time in nature, like walking, hugging trees, stargazing, like moon bathing. They really allow me to like connect to nature in a way that I really need to connect to ensure that like there's a thread of ecology and yeah, love of nature really. So one of the things I've been doing for a while now is wild swimming. And this was really put to test in Finland, where I swam in waters of -1, so nearly -2. So I've been wild swimming for, you know, some time now, and I'll get a lot out of it. And I thought it'd be quite nice to just get you guys to come in with me. So we're going to go in. So I'm going to get you guys to come in to this beautiful, not so calm today, but still pretty clear, and hopefully not too cold. So let's do it. Oh, it's fine. It's not cold at all, but it's quite rough. I'm hoping that I don't lose my phone in all of this. Woo! So yeah, I mean, there's probably lots of wild swimmers out there, people who like use nature to inspire their work. So here we are in the sea. I can't really do my normal plunge, but thanks very much for joining me this evening. It's been really great, and I hope it was informative and that I can encourage you guys to take a moment or go wild swimming. But yeah, thanks once again to Arts Council of Wales and Wales Arts International for allowing me and giving me the opportunity to go to Finland and making sure that artists get to do whatever's important to them. And for me, it's swimming in the sea. So, and yeah, thanks for joining me, guys. So I guess I'm going to sign off, and hopefully you'll join us next week. Tactile Bosch, OmniBOSCH. Thank you. Nosta. Goodbye. Woo! Bye. Keep swimming. Babs, why aren't you here? Woo! It's really, like, you can see how it's not. So this really, I was going to say goodbye, but this is really isn't, like, this is not cold water therapy like I'm used to. It's pretty cold. But yeah, it's delightful, and I'm very blessed to be here. But I am going to sign off so I can actually go for a proper swim. So, diolch, am ymuno, diolch I pawb. Bye bye.